Did you know that nature is capable of creating polymers? That's right. The nature creates polymers which evolve over extended periods of time, and they are still evolving, and they are still among us, and we technically are surviving off it. Now, there are four major types of polymers which nature is capable of creating, and we all are actively participating in that. The four major types of polymers which nature is able to create is carbohydrates, proteins, nucleic acid, and lipids. In this video, we are going to learn about carbohydrates in detail. So let's jump right in and let's meet after the intro. Hello again, welcome back to Chemisphere channel. My name is Chandan Biswas. In this video, we are going to discuss about carbohydrates and how they are formed, how they are classified, and what role they play in our daily lives. Now, what are carbohydrates exactly? Carbohydrates in layman terms are pure energy. That's right, they freely occur in nature. It is owned by plants, it can be consumed by animals like you and me. We all eat food, and all of that food contains mostly of carbohydrates, and we need it for the essential supply of energy for our daily lives. Now, we take it from food, right? We take it from, in general, every single diet. But do you know how the plants make it? Plants make carbohydrates with a very interesting method, which we have already studied probably in very small classes. That's right, it's photosynthesis. The plants get carbon dioxide from the air, the sunlight, and water from the underground sources, and that's what they synthesize into carbohydrates, and that's how they completely support their life system. Now, the general formula of carbohydrate looks like this. At least that's what people used to believe previously. It was written as CH2ON. Wait, you don't know what exactly CH2ON is? That's right, carbohydrates. Okay, so we got this. Plants create carbohydrates as pure sources of energy, but how do we animals make it? That's right, animals take it from, you guessed it, the plants. We eat rice, we eat chapati, and we eat all that sort of food. I mean, it essentially contains carbohydrates. We need that to stay alive and perform the vital functions of our body. Now, there was a time when people used to believe that the formula of carbohydrates is this, CXH2O whole Y. For example, let's look at this molecule, glucose, C6H12O6. But it is not even a generalized fact. In fact, many times scientists came across some carbohydrates which don't even follow this formula. Examples like formaldehyde, acetic acid, and lactic acid. These are the compounds which fall in this category, but they don't belong to the same class of compounds. And that's why we see that this formula doesn't really fit in. To much surprise, there are certain compounds in carbohydrates which contain sulfur and nitrogen as well. Now, that is something mind-boggling because previously people didn't even agree to that thing. Now, speaking of facts about carbohydrates, how they look like, how they are in real life, let's talk about that. Carbohydrates are white in color. In general, they are totally colorless. The sugar which you eat in your home, I mean, that's colorless, right? That's simple, pure white crystals. And generally, carbohydrates which are very low in molar masses, they are very sweet in tastes. Therefore, smaller carbohydrates are also referred to as sugars. If you meet someone who addresses carbohydrates as saccharides, do not panic. Sugars and saccharides are essentially the same things. The word saccharides is derived from its Latin word saccharum. So, let's formally define carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are thus defined as optically active polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones, or compounds which produce such units on hydrolysis. Now, let's see how carbohydrates are divided in multiple categories so that we can easily study their behaviors. Monosaccharides, they are called simple sugars. They're all sweet in taste. These are single unit carbohydrates which do not give you anything after hydrolysis. For those who don't know what exactly hydrolysis is basically the reaction with water. So in this case, if you are taking some monosaccharide or a simple sugar and dissolve in water, we are not going to get any simpler carbohydrates. So that's why they are called monosaccharides or simple sugars. And yes, Glucose is one important example of this class. C6H12O6. Further examples could be fructose. Fructose is fruit sugar, right? It's all present in fruits. Some other examples of monosaccharides could be ribose, deoxyribose, galactose, etc. In nature, we find about 20 monosaccharides which are naturally occurring. In general, any monosaccharide contains 3 to 9 carbons in a straight chain at max. Now let's move on to the next carbohydrate, which is called oligosaccharides. Now oligosaccharides are sugars, or you can say multiple monosaccharide units joined together with a loss of water molecule. You can say that they are condensed together and they pretty much look like this. Now when you try to break these oligosaccharides, when you mix them with water, they essentially are going to break down and they will give you simpler monosaccharides. So you can say that oligosaccharides are polymers of monosaccharides. The repeating unit of monosaccharides are joined together to form oligosaccharides. Oligosaccharides can be further classified as disaccharides, trisaccharides, tetrasaccharides, depending on how many carbohydrate units or monosaccharide units are joined together. Now there are certain things which you should completely be aware of, especially in the case of oligosaccharides and more precisely disaccharides. So now we have to understand what kind of disaccharides are existing in nature, and upon hydrolysis of them, which all monosaccharides you are going to get. That is something which you should always memorize, because this fact is almost asked in every other examination. The first oligosaccharide or disaccharide is sucrose, our table sugar. It consists of glucose and fructose units joined together by a bond known as a glycosidic bond. So the monomers of sucrose is nothing but glucose and fructose. Another disaccharide is maltose. It contains 2 units of glucose joined together. Another disaccharide is called lactose. Lactose is nothing but your milk sugar. It consists of a molecule of glucose joined with another unit of galactose. So these are some monosaccharides which form the larger disaccharides. And the third category is polysaccharides. Polysaccharides are almost the most abundant form of energy, and they are almost everywhere found in nature. The most common type of polysaccharides is cellulose. It provides the maximum amount of mass of a plant or a tree. It actually constitutes the cell wall of every single plant, and it is almost the most abundant substance in the plant kingdom. So what exactly this cellulose is? It is combined with multiple glucose units joined together by a small bond, and if you hydrolyze them, you are going to get simple glucose molecules after you break them down with hydrolysis reactions. Another examples of polysaccharides could be like starch, glycogen, etc. So in conclusion, we can say that every single animal on this earth lives off carbohydrate, because all of the body essentially works directly or indirectly through the carbohydrates, because they are nothing but pure energy. But in daily life, we are always confused about eating carbohydrates from good sources or bad sources. So make sure you get your carbohydrates from good sources, not from junk food. You may also choose to limit your consumption of carbohydrates depending on your body mass. In general, carbohydrates are the stuff of life. They are pure energy. That's how we all work. That's how we function. They are the reason behind your curly hair, strong nails, amongst many other things. Some even contain genetic information, which helps creating other biomolecules. Without them, life as we know it would simply cease to exist. And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, do not forget to like the video and subscribe it. I'll see you in the next one then. Bye-bye.
You have to be your biggest fan. And when things are really tough and they're really rough and nothing's working, but there's something inside of you that says, I just have to follow that. Because you don't know who